I've been working my whole adult life on solutions to homelessness, which is why 23 years ago I started a not-for-profit called Common Ground, thinking that housing was the main answer. We did great work, built about 3,000 affordable apartments, most of them in Manhattan, won all kinds of awards, did great work in the communities that we were working in. We're on 60 Minutes a few times. Only success, it seemed. Because in the work of homelessness, you pass your failures every day on the street. And we would continue to walk by individuals whose names we didn't know, whose stories we didn't know, who were still homeless in Midtown Manhattan years after we built these buildings. And the wake-up call for me was literally a call. I got a call one day from a social worker at Bellevue Hospital telling me a woman named Sarah Rayburn was claiming that I was her next of kin and she needed a home. Well, come to find out, this was an elderly woman we'd seen for years in Times Square who never knew her name before. When she ended up in the hospital, got the medication she needed, she explained that in all those years, no one had offered her anything other than a ride to the shelter or a meal or a blanket. And all that time, no one had sat down with her, learned her name, and offered her a chance to have a real home. Well, we took that up as a huge aha, which was the world doesn't need one more program for the homeless. We need a better process for helping vulnerable people in our communities get what they need, find a real home, and do it fast. And so we launched Community Solutions 2 years ago. We took a whole innovation team at Common Ground and created a new national organization which works with communities to create well-functioning local marketplaces that effectively match people who are in homelessness or at risk of homelessness with homes and the support they need to be successful. Our big platform is called the 100,000 Homes Campaign, and we're now working with 189 communities and counting. And what we found is we can take a lot of inspiration and tools from other sectors. We're using big data for pattern recognition. We're using the same type of thinking that Amazon uses to tell you what books you want to read, to basically knowing that this has to be about knowing people by name and customizing solutions. We're realizing that design thinking is really the way to work through the disconnect between the VA and housing authorities and mayor's offices and not-for-profits, and people have to actually come together, use data, and really prioritize and work collectively to solve this problem. And we also discovered that process improvement tools aren't just important for GE or Toyota. They actually are kind of the difference between life and death for people who are stranded in homelessness or facing homelessness. So the results, well, in those first 20 plus years at Common Ground, we're probably able to help about 4,500 people out of homelessness. In the last 2+ years, over 39,000 people are now in permanent housing thanks to this way of approaching the problem at its roots as a process problem. And we're also, I think, successful, and I'm going to quote my amazing colleague Becky Canis on this one. We're successful because, as Becky said when she was recognized at the White House last month for being a champion of change, and now, just as an aside, she's a West Point graduate, highly disciplined. She was a military intelligence officer for 9 years. Well, she got up and said, we're succeeding because we're disciplined, but we're also aware of where we need to break the rules. And so would love your help as we launch a pretty ambitious growth capital fund, a $6 million growth capital fund, to help us move past the 100,000 goal, which we know we'll reach by next July, to actually extend this thinking to working with homeless families, returning veterans, youth at risk, and to take this platform global, because we think that in a healthy society, homelessness should be rare, short-lived for those who experience it, and should never mark a person for life. Thank you.